what is neurodiversity? You know, just to make sure we're all talking about the same thing, what we're talking about when we say neurodiversity is, of course, variations in the brain. And what that means in the terms of what we're talking about today is specifically one partner who is what we call neurotypical, and the other partner who is autistic. And as a caveat, some of the clients who come in have a diagnosis, but in the adult world, that's very rare. More often than not, couples come in, and it is in my office, my practice, the neurotypical partner has brought the other partner in and says, this is our last hope. I think he's on the spectrum, or I think he's autistic, or I think he has Asperger's. And just in the way they'd express that helps me understand how much they know about what they're talking about when they come in. So fundamentally, it's important to remember we're talking about biology here. We're talking about neurology, the difference in the structure of the brains. These differences between the autistic and neurotypical brains show up, for example, on an fMRI. Different parts of the brain light up at different times and in response to different stimuli between these two brains. So you can see that. You can also see, of course, not the way we diagnose, but you can see on autopsy also that there are differences in the size and the structure of the brains of a person who is autistic. So the word neurotypical, which there's a lot of pushback on that word, by the way. That's what kind of it's a lot of the language is a little dicey around this, and there's a lot of confusion. So I use the word neurotypical, but I usually with my clients tell them why I'm using it and what I mean by it. What I mean is the way that the world is set up is designed for people who think the way most people think, process the world the way most people do, which relies not only on cognitive assessment, which is how we read the environment, but also on intuition. Those of us who are neurotypical bring every experience we've ever had to every new experience that we have. And we rely on that. It's the water in the fishbowl that the fish doesn't see. We're not aware even of how intricate that processing piece is when we enter a new situation, encounter a new person, explore a new topic. We bring everything we already know about it, both cognitively and what we know about it emotionally, to that new situation. And the world is set up so that that is facilitated. The bulk of our work, for example, in our training, is all done from the perspective of the neurotypical world. So what does it mean to be autistic? Autism is a structural difference in the brain, as I mentioned, and it affects certain domains in varying degrees and to varying extents. So that someone who's autistic, we always say if you've met one autistic person, you've met one autistic person. And that's because not only is there a broad degree of characteristics and traits that are typically autistic, but the degree to which they're expressed varies from person to person. So autism shows up in communication. There are some problems with communication. It shows up in the social realm, where all that intuition I was talking about a minute ago is not in service of an autistic person. And we'll talk a little bit more about why that is later. So that then the rules of social engagement become invisible, and it's the realm of the faux pas over and over again. Usually there's a sense for somebody who's been out of step or out of sync most of his life. Okay, so let me explain why I said his. The prevalence in diagnoses, at least, is 4-to-1 male to female, and it's sometimes, in fact, called extreme male brain autism. That's what Simon Baron-Cohen of Cambridge calls it. And what he means is that autism is a very logical, step-by-step orientation to reality, cognitive processing.